Your life.
Live from your account.
Good evening, everyone.
Maybe we'll just wait for people to join in. 2, 1 minute. Because they'll.
Is it on silent?
No, drag the screen down. Pull the screen down.
It's fully down.
No, pull the screen down. And do not disturb Shruti.
Doesn't that kill the internet?
No. But it's on airplane mode, right? Maybe we should talk, otherwise they'll listen to 2 people also.
There's 2 people.
We're just waiting for people to join us on air.
Thank you for joining in. Appreciate you making time.
You want to start here with just one person? You want to start?
One person on each
Yeah.
account.
We can start with
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to talk about the journey, the struggle, and the dreams of P.V. Kuppuswamy Naidu, Priyank's great-great-grandfather, and the legacy that he left behind.
So, yeah, so thank you all for joining us. So, welcome. This is my home, and so we're airing from my home. So it's a story that's coming in from my family, and we're also wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from my family to yours. So this is in association with this is for Bangalore Connections' 2nd anniversary celebration, and we're calling it the Bangalore Reconnection Festival. Thank you. Yeah, so thank you, Rachel, for being here and doing this for me. And
Of course, it's my pleasure. But yeah, we can start. What is Mr. Naidu's story? You know, how did he get to Bangalore?
Yeah, he's sort of now I would say he's the mascot and also the reason for all of us being here today, and also especially the reason for Bangalore Connection existing. And without P.V. Kuppuswamy Naidu, I don't think I would have been here, and so I'm very grateful. So his story is actually really interesting, but we'll have to start with going back into the caste and the clan of the Naidus. We come from a clan called the Balija Gaja Naidus, and they were bangle vendors initially. And how did the bangle vendors and this clan land up in present day Tamil Nadu or other Tiruvannamalai district? Because today, even till date, the 2 villages that they come from, Padavedu and Madimangalam, are 2 villages that speak Telugu. And so the Naidus fled from the Chittur dynasty and the Chittur kingdom over 800 years ago, and they fled because apparently of a famine. And on their way, when they were traveling, the legend, and this is the legend, and the legend is that on their way when they were traveling, that only spinster and only a single lady in the whole clan, who was considered to be auspicious and good luck and had a lot of good luck, passed away, and she died of pneumonia as well. And so they buried her in this village, and they continued their journey. And every time they continued their journey, all of their sacks of rice had a big stone that fell into it and would weigh down the carriages. So they didn't understand what that meant. And so when they took rest overnight at this place, Bhupati, who is that spinster, came into all of their dreams and said, the village that you have buried me in is where the Naidu clan will flourish. So you must return immediately. And so they didn't even have to think twice because all of them had the same message. They returned back and they settled down in these sister villages of Padaved and Madimangalam. So that's where my great-great-great-grandfather, P.V. Kuppaswamy Naidu's father, Muniswamy Naidu, settled down. And from there he basically was a farmer, and he grew paddy, and he had over like 28 acres of land, and he just grew paddy in those fields. And these are all stories that my grandmother has of course shared with me. And my grandmother doesn't even come from this family. She was married into this family. And so you can imagine how interested she was to learn and hear these stories from her father-in-law and her mother-in-law and so on. Who is Kuppaswamy Naidu? So Kuppaswamy Naidu was this man who was at the age of around 22 or 23 had to leave his homeland. And he had to leave because there was a famine again, and also being a farmer wasn't going anywhere for him. He wasn't making as much as he wanted to. He had dreams. He wanted to accomplish something.
Sure.
So he migrated to Bangalore. But how did he migrate? On foot with his two wives, who were both sisters and siblings. So he married two siblings, and his mother. So all four of them set out on a foot journey on their foot, like the 1,000-foot journey, you know. And they've really come. And on their way, the eldest sister and his first wife passed away of pneumonia. And so they buried her in of course, an unmarked grave, and continued their journey. And they landed into Bangalore at the Cantonment railway station. And that's where his whole new journey and a new life begins. So at the Cantonment railway station, they're at the slum, and they built a tent, and they started to bake in that tent. And because baking was the only other thing he had learned apart from farming, so he knew only how to bake loaves of bread, and he would use the tin method. So they had tins, and he would put charcoal below, and from that hot air created with the sand inside the tin, he would bake only 5 to 6 loaves in every tin. So eventually, carrying that on his head and selling it to the passengers, the British passengers at the Cantonment railway station, and that's how he made his bread and butter, and that's what has brought us here today.
Excellent. Yeah. That's a lot of history.
Yeah,
that's
I know.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's a legacy.
Yeah, it is. It is indeed. So we actually have a question from one of the viewers, Sharanya Francis. Thank you, Sharanya, for sharing that with us. So what was his source of inspiration to get into baking at that time and era?
Yeah, so I mean, he comes from a age that, of course, Bangalore city at that time was two different cities, right? One was Pete, which was known as Pete, and it was under the Mysore Maharaj, and the Bangalore gate was apparently by Maitri Circle, today's Maitri Circle, and this side everything was cantonment, and it was under the British Raj, and I think as migrants, they felt more welcomed into working under the British because there was more opportunity. There was more. There was more of, I think, a chance to grow, because whereas under the Mysore Maharaj, it was age-old families that had already worked. There was this caste privilege and so on. There was all of that differentiation. There was a class and so on. And also Bangalore was already a migrant-filled city at that moment, because everyone was either Tamil, Telugu, Malayali, or we had most of the South Indian migrants or diaspora, we'd say, who came in, settled down into Bangalore. So the era that he really came into was in some ways not as liberal as we think it would have been.
Sure.
So it definitely was a struggle. But as I said, he came with his mind set for a dream. And he wanted to accomplish something. He wanted to be someone. He wanted to walk in the footsteps of, that weren't walked in, or rather he was walking into creating those footsteps for us to walk into, right? And soon he basically, what he does is, so he starts this bakery, but like before we get there, I really don't know what his inspiration really might have been. I think maybe it could be the age of migration, it could be the fact that he wasn't passionate about farming, maybe he was passionate about a lot of things. But just, I actually forgot to add in the previous part, is that all of those 28 acres of land, he kept only 5 acres and donated the rest to the local temple of Paduvate. So even till date, when you walk into the Paduvate temple, his name's etched onto the walls for giving thanks as to donating those lands to that temple. And he became the zamindar of that land, and he had someone cultivate on that land. And I still remember for a very long time, my grandma kept saying that we would get 1 bag of rice at least every month or so, that that every time there was harvest, we would get 1 whole bag of rice.
Sure.
Just as a gift. So yeah,
that's him.
That's him, and that's the iconic Bangalore Connection branding picture as well. But that picture is something that's very close to my heart, because that picture defined that moment of me actually restarting and reviving the whole bakery. Because I, as a child, I know I hid it because I knew that I don't think my family is going to be able to treasure this as much as I look at it and treasure it, because I always had a penchant for old things, as you can see. Yeah, so this moment was a moment of epiphany, because I come back from the UK. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had this diploma in pastry and confectionery from Le Cordon Bleu. I had no idea what, and nobody was even giving me a job that was sufficient enough to, everyone wanted me to start on minimum wage. And this one evening when I'm sitting with my grandmother, we're flipping through albums, and from a picture behind my grandmom and my granddad was this picture hidden, and I pulled it out, and I think that single moment defined this whole journey. And 2 years now later, when I still look at that picture, I don't have a copy of it in my house, because I think it's there everywhere on all of our branding, on all of that, because he's like, you can see how simple he is, but at the same time, he's royal. He's showing his royalty with his chadaos, with the flap going up, his turban, all of that, and the way he's just sitting in his store. So this particular store is only a stall. It's not of the original store. It's a stall where they take part in a competition at Russell Market. And every year there was a competition to see which one was the most tallest cakes and all of that. And he won every single year. So that's why he says he's a medalist and he's certified. Who certifies him, we don't know, but I'm very glad that he's certified. And those are the paintings of the medals he had won. So yeah, I really like a lot of things. So a lot of inspiration comes from this particular picture. The shortbreads that he's lined up and packaged, they've stacked them up in that design. We still follow that in the store. The cake, the wedding cake stand for this cake stand is actually I'll show you a picture a little later, but 2 of the others are with Nilgiris. And the other thing I really like here is the way he's used glass and mirrors all around to showcase reflection and also to give you the illusion of depth. So when you look in, you feel like the store is big, but you're also able to look at the cake from all sides. And so sort of that's his journey, yeah.
So you mentioned that he had donated all of his land to the temples.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm just curious, how far did faith and devotion play a role in his growth as a baker?
Yeah. So the family I come from, the Naidus, and if any of my family are watching, they'd agree, is faith and devotion, and faith in general, and the devotion towards each of their gods. So each grandparent or each grandfather had one particular god that they really followed, and they were really they really wanted to. They showed their bhakti, that devotion in the end is in different forms. So with him in particular, he had this dream to give. So after he had founded the bakery and so on, and when he had become more influential in the scene, he asked the mayor of Bangalore to give him a piece of land to give his gods, Ram, Lakshman and Sita, as well as Hanuman, a shelter. And so 5 of his friends got together and said, we'd like this land and we'd like to do this for our religion and so on. So the mayor of Bangalore gave him a pebble in his hand and said, throw it from wherever you're standing and you can take that much land. And so that temple is the Shivaji. It's located in Shivaji Nagar. It's right opposite the bus stand. It's a Sri Ramanjanaya temple. It's Ram and Hanuman and all of them. And also a very nice goddess called the Vedavali Tayar. And they built that temple from inside out. So they started by building a wall around and then started constructing from inside because the mayor had changed and wasn't as giving and as generous as the previous one. So he was taking away land that was already given, so they needed to build a structure. So they built a wall first and started to construct from inside. The other thing, and his son, Balakrishna Naidu, my great-grandfather, had a huge devotion towards Krishna. So one of the biggest festivals in the Naidu family today is Krishna Janmashtami. And in those days, they had chariots and they had it was a week long of celebration. The women of the household, I think, dreaded it because they had to make 108 delicacies and all of it had to be made in-house. So a lot of those vessels, I still have some of that. But all 108, had to be offered to Krishna. And so he had also sat with a sculptor and sculpted 3 different Krishna statues. One was the crawling Krishna, one was the standing Krishna playing the flute, and one was the Krishna writing the Gita. So which has also been divided into family, and the one which is Krishna playing the flute is the one which my family has. That particular sculpture, which I will show you a picture of later on, is so much different. You'll never be able to find that face or that beauty because it shows Krishna as a child but also as an adult, but in that calm Shanti face, and that's the beauty of it. Devotion plays a large role. He also he realized when his Kula, which is the clan, had also migrated along with him slowly because they saw him flourish and they realized they had to move in as well. So they started moving into the area, and halfway through his life he had realized that his Kula is here but his Kula Devata isn't. Right? Like Kula Devata is the goddess of the clan and she's not here. He had donated land to her temple but she's not here. So they all got together and constructed a temple in Shivaji Nagar. So there is a Padvet Amman temple in the middle of Shivaji Nagar. Not many people know why, but we at least as a family realize that we're really strongly connected to her. She defines our homeland. She comes from the home that we're from, and every year she greets us during the Adi celebrations where she comes on a karaga and they dance in front of our house, and we offer it's something called vari, which is tax, and you pay the goddess tax for taking care of you. And so that's one of the biggest traditions we still follow.
Yeah. That's amazing. What would you say are some of the milestones of growth of his growth as a baker?
So he founded the bakery in 1888. He founded it at the Shivaji Nagar Circle, which is where Bangalore Connections Kitchen was reopened in that same property. And I can actually show you in some of the pictures. So that's the bungalow that he ended up building. We get to how he became rags to riches, or rather no rags, but rather a farmer dhoti to riches. And that's the cake stand that's the only treasure in some ways that my great-great-grandfather left for me, apart from the property. And so that's the original picture when I found it, and after we got it re-edited. That's the letterhead. of the Meenakshi Amman Koil Street branch. There were 3 branches that they owned eventually. So one was Old Poor House Road, one was Shivaji Nagar Circle, and the other one is Meenakshi Amman Koil Street. Later, when my grandfather took on, so after it passed a 3rd generation, there was one on Avenue Road as well. So it became 4, but they shut down the Old Poor House one. This is the joint family. So a group of 4 people came down, and this is the family that he was. This is where towards the later in his life, that's him here. That's Kuppuswamy Naidu. That's the Krishna that was passed down to our family. That's my great grandfather and his son Balakrishna Naidu, and my grandfather Chitti Babu Naidu. And so this is not all of them are family, but they're also, some of them are people in the area, because the Naidu's house was known for Krishna Janmashtami celebration. There's a big chariot festival, and the backdrop is the bungalow. The bungalow property is where the Harsha Hotel, or I think it's called Regenta Hotel now in Shivaji Nagar exists. And that's the bakery in Shivaji Nagar. That's where the property is. That's the back gate where they would fill. It's called garang, which is firewood, which would come in, and they would put that into the back. And this was the inside. There's a working table, and there's the oven, and there's the soot from the oven and the ash that would come out. Yeah.
So tell us about some of the, I mean, you've already told us about the sweets that they do during festivals,
Yeah.
but tell us about the everyday products that they were famous for.
Well, that one loaf of bread that he made in his tin, that's where that's what pays our bread and butter today. That one loaf of bread that he made. So that's the best-selling item, I would say, is his bread. The other thing is our masala biscuits that we've recreated. See, nobody gave me any recipes. Yeah, it was all kai kanakku, which was everything was in the hand. There was someone called Kamir, who was one of the bakers in the bakery, and Kamir had a way of kneading the dough, so it was called Kamir Kotte. So nobody told us Kamir, introduced us to Kamir, nor did they give me say, hey, this is Kamir's grandson, here to teach you. Nobody did that. So we had to recreate a lot of that. So the coconut cookies, so they were known for an area of shortbreads.
Okay.
And so some of the shortbreads were coconut and cardamom, some were full butter. So apparently this melt in your mouth butter cookies, which we're still not able to crack that. We do an almond butter instead. There's also chupam. Chupam was something that they made for children, for teething children, where it was a breadstick but little more thicker in size, where kids could just, suck on as a lollipop.
Oh, right.
And just for the teeth, so soothe their teeth. Variki, which is another dried form of bread, which is thin and flat, and it's for old. It's similar to the texture of rusk, but it doesn't have any salt. It's slightly sweeter, and it's for senior citizens to dip into their tea. I just like the form. I'm going to point out here is that how inclusive he was. He made sure there was something for everyone. The demographic of a man or a woman. So the other things that we also make is his cakes. We're not going to forget his cakes. So his honey cakes, his apple cakes, his they had something called the peanut cookies with peanut biscuits and made with peanut powder. There's a lot. There's just a lot. We do still do a lot of it. We have a whole revival menu in the kitchen, and so if you've been to our store and if you've also ordered from us, you'll know a lot of that. You'll be able to identify. From the revival.
So at this point, I'd like to open it out and ask if there were any participant questions. No. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Yeah. So. We were also regarded in one of the books published in 1938. So that was the book. I don't know if it's clear enough, but I could read it out. It's a business handbook and tourist guide, a roadmap of South India, and the Business Syndicate Bangalore, published in 1938. So in the columns where they listed a lot of it, so there's a bank section where there's Associate Bankers, Bangalore Bank, Bank of Mysore, Calicut Bank, Canada Bank, and all of that. And then there's the bakers and confectioners. In that is the Arani Bakery, Old Poorhouse Road, Bosco and Co, Crown Bakery, Deaton, Mrs. St. Mark's Road, Doreswamy Modaliyar, Dharmaraja Coil Street, Funnels Ltd, South Parade, Green Shop Confectionery and General Merchants, Commercial Street, Muthuswamy Naidu and Sons, Old Poorhouse Road, and Naidu and Sons, Old Poorhouse Road, and then the last one is Swami and Co, Market Square. So Naidu and Sons is the second last one in Old Poorhouse Road. That was one of the second branches that they opened. And then the book also has everything else about, so you have Ayurvedic practitioners and Ayurvedic pharmacies and so on. It's a very interesting book. This was something someone actually shared with us soon after we opened. And so I was just like, oh, there is evidence. So it's not just, it's not any story, it's actually the truth. This is some of the festivals. As I mentioned, that's the Kula Devata that comes to visit us every year. They come and dance. That's a very traditional Tamil form of Tamil Nadu style of Tanjore dancing. It's a Karagatam. So that's the Krishna Janmashtami. That's the Krishna in our home. And the Krishna is also 150 years old. And those are all the delicacies you can see that were offered by the kitchen last year, because we had to take over some of it. Definitely I wasn't going to make 108. That's too much, but because the point is you can make 108, but who's going to eat them? And you know our wastage policy, if you know Bangalore Connection already. And of course where we are today, and that's me paying homage to my great grandfather. That's me saying thank you for bringing me to where I am today, and thanking you and thanking him for sort of passing on those values, those qualities, and that passion. And this is my homage to him, just saying, here's your legacy, and here it is.
You're doing a great job.
Thank
I'm sure
you.
he'll be so
Yeah.
proud of you.
Yeah, I'm sure he showed up in form today at the kitchen. So, a lot of the styles inside the store are inspired with the story, or inspired of the city, inspired of the work we do. So, like, I mean, just a few things is, like, we have these windows that look into black and white pictures of the city. The whole idea there is we're looking back into the past, because the past defines our present, the present defines our future. And the table inspired by Singer's sewing machine. So I think that one particular piece is actually me personally paying homage to my maternal side. Because here I'm really talking all about my paternal side, and then my mother, I think in one corner, is just like, hi. So I'm here too. So I remember my maternal grandmother having a Singer sewing machine in our house, and I always had a thing for that paddle, because I just was really amazed by, because if you pressed on it would come back.
All our
So
mothers
yeah, and so that particular sewing machine and that inspiration comes from that story, and that's me saying thank you as well. I mean, it's just me trying to be as subtle as I can about the whole thing. The chandelier is one of my personal favorites. It actually was my contribution to the brand, and saying let's create a chandelier with baking tins. So those are copper baking tins, or painted copper baking tins, and there are 12 and in each row. And so we've sort of like created this whole chandelier. And so yeah, and then the back we have these doors. I don't know if we showcased it. No, we haven't. So in this, so there's actually a little bit that you can see is we have this illusion that we're creating with little drawers to make you feel like you're inside an apothecary, because that's what, when you say a sweetmeat shop, the first thing is ingredients, and an apothecary is where you have like all of these little drawers coming in, but it's actually just panels, and we've sort of given that illusion to sort of feel like that. And the last of all is, you'll notice that we have a red oxide flooring, and you see the red oxide all through the brand, on our packaging, on our gift boxes. And the brand's flower, if you have bought from Bangalore Connection, you'll know is we're obsessed with bougainvillea. That's my flower to the city, and yeah, so that's where we are. Yeah. We go back to our man.
Good.
Yeah. So if we have any other questions, we're happy to answer, and if you
Stick
can
around.
ask us. And, yeah. All right. So thank you,
Thank you.
Rachel, for
Of
like
course.
doing this and really following the whole Bangalore Connection journey. And this is an part of, and also thank you for coming and being a part of the Bangalore Reconnection Festival. We're really grateful for reconnecting with our past, and I hope Kupaswamy adds more color and life and joy to your life
You do
in
that
2021.
You do that well.
I do that well.
So thank you.
Thank you. And
for
thank
having
you
me
all
here.
for all of us who's watching and who are going to watch the show later on as well. Thank you for joining us, and also thanks to my team, because
Yes.
without my team, I don't think Bangalore Connection would be half or even more of what we are today. So, Chef Ria, Tiara, Abhishek, Mr. Raghavendra, who else? Marappa, Mangala. Of course, oh God, I'm going to get my head chopped off if I haven't thanked Mangala. If anyone who knows Bangalore Connection knows Mangala, she's quite famous. She's the mascot number 2. And then, of course, Kumar and the whole Eminence Homes and Spaces team, and my parents, my family. So I think without them, I can't do it. So thank you so much. And so until we see you next, we're also doing a whole Christmas menu. So please go check out our Christmas menu. Order from us. We are adding one last item that made it onto the list. That's the mince pies.
Yeah.
So Chef Ria's already giving me the look saying, oh God, don't add any more. But
That's
yes, the mince pies have been added. The Stolin's orders have hit the roof already. A plum cake as well. This is going to be the last time we're going to be tasting the 2-year-old plum cake. So this is your last chance. So we have the last mix. It's not going to be as strong as it is this year. So you have to order now. Or reserve a batch for yourself for the next year. And the last one is we have a workshop happening on the 22nd. It's going to be a virtual class and a cooking demo on decorating your own Christmas cookies as well as your gingerbread man and gingerbread woman. And yeah, we're trying to be inclusive here. Chef Ria's just like, no, please no. So yeah, so come join us, register for the class. There's no age, no bar. Everyone who's located in Bangalore, you can give us, you can register for the one with the kit, and we'll send you ready-made gingerbread cookies for your children to decorate along with our master chefs in the kitchen. And so that's how we're going to be ending the year. And you'll be seeing us on our stories, you'll be seeing all of that. And there's also one special surprise that's going to happen on the 2nd, so stay tuned and be a part of the Bangalore Reconnection Festival. Thank you so much.